Welcome, everyone. We will call the Committee of the Whole together here, and welcome. Come on up.
All right.
Come up to the microphones.
All right. Perfect. All right. Good morning. I'm Molly Stewart with SRF Consulting. I'm here on behalf of MnDOT to present on the US 52 PEL study.
Good morning. My name is Tom Austin. I'm with Project Manager with MnDOT. Thanks for allowing us to come and share with you this morning.
All right. So this is our the US 52 PEL study. I think we were here last year sometime to give you guys an update. And so here's our final update. Our study is concluding here in June. So we began things back in March of 2022. So I've been going on over 2 years now with this study, have made some good progress, and just wanted to give a final update to the county board here. So just as a reminder, the study is from Hayter, Highway 57 and 8 down to Highway 60 in Zumbrota. It's about 8 miles on the US 52 corridor. Our study process was included developing a comprehensive purpose and needs statement, identifying and evaluating concepts and then developing a vision and an implementation plan for the US 52 corridor. We were able to receive consensus and throughout the project process from FHWA and study partners, including the City of Zumbrota, Mineola Township, and Goodhue County, and stakeholders and public along the way as well. The PEL process is paving the way then for the future NEPA process that will occur after the conclusion of the PEL study. So just a refresher, our existing conditions that we evaluated as part of the study included identifying that there were some traffic and access issues along Highway 52, mostly that there's majority of the traffic going along the corridor is through volume going north or south of the corridor study area. There's a fair amount of heavy freight traffic along the corridor as well, but then there are also several access points, existing at-grade access points along the corridor. Several of them on the northern side were closed as part of the recent Highway 52 southbound reconstruction project, but there were still several that remain on the southern side. So it was important as part of this, we also identified that there was a lot of need to cross 52 and just access the corridor from the local perspective and the adjacent land and property owners along the corridor. And so making sure that we consider that as part of our concept development was important for the study. In addition, there's some concerns with the pavement and infrastructure along the corridor. So MnDOT has identified a pavement project on this corridor in the near term, so I think 2031. So to address the pavement issues, there are also a fair amount of safety issues identified along the corridor. As I mentioned, there were some at-grade access points along the corridor, which were leading or causing some of the crashes that were happening along the segments, and then also at the intersection. So that was one important piece that drove our purpose and need for why the concept alternatives were developed. And then finally, there are many environmental concerns along the corridor. So the Zumbrota River runs in the area. In addition, there are wetlands and some environmental concerns along that we needed to be mindful of as we developed our concept alternatives. So we went to the public in 2 or 3 times total throughout the study. So in the beginning, we heard from them that improving safety was very important along the corridor, accommodating the agricultural movement. So as I mentioned, there's a strong need to cross 52 and also access it. We also had heard from the township that there was lots of agricultural vehicles that were traveling along 52 to access property. So removing that conflict with the slow-moving agricultural vehicles and the high-speed vehicle traffic on 52 was an important consideration as we developed concepts. So that goes hand in hand with managing access. So as I mentioned, there was a lot of at-grade access points. So finding alternatives to get traffic that is local off 52 and onto some local connections was important, and then closing access to make the corridor safer for that through volume. So we identified that really the vision for the corridor was to be a grade-separated highway, so trying to close all at-grade access, providing some grade separation to get movements across 52 and access 52, and continue to, and then also to accommodate growth that Zumbrota has identified in the southern part of the corridor study area. So we took all of the existing conditions and the purpose and need and developed concepts based on that information. So our focus of our concept development included, identifying concepts that improve safety, managed access better, improved the freight movement, accommodated the agricultural access, crossing the corridor and accessing 52. Managing congestion into the future and encouraging economic development in the Zumbrota area. And we also considered bikeability and walkability, so mostly looking at the crossing of 52 for the movements that there rather. And then finally, just making sure that any concept that was developed would have addressed the failing pavement and infrastructure needs in the corridor. So, as part of the study, we developed 8 concept alternatives, access alternatives, apologize. So they are shown up here on the screen. These are the ones that I presented the last time we were here. So they range from at-grade access, so J-turns, R-cuts, to grade-separated access concepts with interchanges shown. So I have more detail on each one. And then we also developed a local road concept to complement these access alternatives. So the access alternatives focus mainly on the area in the box on the screen here. So in the County Road 7, 165th Street area. And to complement those changes, we looked at the opportunities to close the other access along the corridor and add some local connections, so frontage road connections, to facilitate that local connectivity. So we then completed an evaluation process of these access alternatives, or access concepts. I apologize, we were calling them alternatives in the beginning of this study, and there was a change in terminology from direction of FHWA to change it to concepts. So they mean one and the same as part as the study goes, and what you'll see in earlier materials for this study. So the evaluation process included a level 1 and a level 2 screening. So primarily the level 1 included just looking at fatal flaws and understanding if any of the concepts did or did not meet the identified primary needs of the corridor, which included vehicle safety and mobility. All of the access alternative or concept alternatives were moved forward through the level 1 evaluation to the level 2, which included a little bit more detail and was more data driven. So we evaluated on a good, fair, poor scale, and the goal was to evaluate with a comprehensive set of evaluation criteria and performance measures. So here is the results of the evaluation for each of the 8 concepts, focusing first on the primary needs. So as I mentioned, vehicle safety and mobility were the primary needs identified as part of the PEL study. As you can see on the screen, the concepts 1 and 2 and the no build are not faring very well. They have many ranking fair and poor for safety and mobility. And concepts 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 are faring a little bit better, with concepts 4 and 5 and 7 kind of rising to the top here. Looking at the secondary needs, which include pavement condition and bridge condition and then culvert condition, in addition to systemic safety risk and walkability and bikeability. Each of the 8 concepts were evaluated against those criteria, and similar to the primary ones, concepts 1 and 2 did not score as well, and the other grade-separated concepts are scoring a little bit better with 4, 5, and 7 scoring the best and rising to the top. And so finally, then we did look at some additional considerations as part of this evaluation. This included such things as access management and implementability and cost and maintenance of traffic. We also evaluated the environmental C considerations, socioeconomic and environmental considerations as well. Those are not shown up here, but they are available in the final report. So we wanted to make sure that each of the concepts that was being evaluated, we understood, what impacts from an environmental perspective were also being, were potential to occur. So finally, given all that evaluation we did, we were able to, the conclusion we came to was that concepts 4, 5, and 7 were the ones that were best meet the primary and secondary needs of the study, and were the ones that we recommend to carry forward as part of the PEL process. Concepts 1, 2, and 3 were eliminated due to the fact that they did not meet the primary needs of vehicle safety and mobility, in addition to concept 6, which also did not meet the primary need of vehicle safety and mobility. Concept 8 is the only one that is not recommended, so I should note that eliminated means that they will not be considered in future phases and are removed from consideration. Not recommended is they will not be considered unless new information comes up. So concept 8 was the only one that was kind of in that gray area, if you will, of it was not recommend, did not meet the primary needs as well, and therefore was not considered to carry forward. However, it was not as strong as it was not as a strong case to eliminate it. So we put it in that not recommended category. So as I mentioned, unless new information arises, that one will likely not be considered in the future either. So that leaves us with concepts 4, 5, and 7 as the ones being carried forward as part of the conclusion of the PEL study. So a little bit more about, and then as part of the NEPA process, the no-build condition also needs to be carried forward as a part of an evaluation. So just as a recap, here is the no-build concept, which shows the existing at-grade access along the corridor following the southbound reconstruction. So the study did start before the southbound reconstruction started, so there was an active project, so we've modified this and to show what it currently exists today on 52. So concept 4, which is one that's being carried forward, shows an interchange at 165th Avenue and access closure at County Road 7. So under this situation, there would be likely would be a jurisdictional transfer, and the county would take over ownership of where the 165th Avenue is, where the interchange would be, assuming that would be the higher functioning, higher volume roadway, and lines better with more of a county jurisdiction function. In addition, there would be some local connections made to get traffic to that new interchange location where they maybe were already accessing 52 at County Road 7. I will note that what we have up here is a concept, just one of many concepts that could be developed at this location. As part of the PEL study, we did develop high-level concepts just to understand some of the property and environmental impacts. However, we did not complete a full interchange evaluation, nor did we look at evaluation of the intersections. That's all going to be done as part of the NEPA process. So this is very draft and therefore likely to change. Concept 5 then is showing the interchange grade separation at County Road 7 with access closures then at 165th and those local connections to get traffic to the County Road 7 location. This is very similar to the previous one, just putting the interchange at County Road 7. So then finally, concept 7 then is showing the interchange at 165th, and this one adds another grade separation, just a bridge, not a full interchange, just northwest of the County Road 7 access point that exists on US 52 today. So this one was identified through the technical process as part of the stakeholder input, and just as to provide a little bit another access point over 52 for the local connection. This one is the most costly of the three the three concepts that are being carried forward, because it does add another bridge over 52. But it wasn't, again, it would still met the purpose and need of the corridors, of the PEL study, so it was carried forward. All right, so, and then finally, as I mentioned, the local road concept concept is being carried forward as well. And so this one was developed as more of an independent utility, so this could be done in conjunction with the access concepts or independent of them. And so we wanted to make sure and separate those two, so that if funding were to be realized before the funding for the interchange, the local connections could be implemented potentially sooner than the interchanges. And so what this identifies is just looking at striving to get to that, removing as much at-grade access along 52 as possible, and then creating some local connections to facilitate those movements along 52, and then getting traffic down to the future grade separation, either the ones that exist up in Hayter or in Zumbrota, or the new proposed interchange that would be in the County Road 7 area.
Molly, just a question on that. Just looking at it, and I should have asked this question a long time ago. Do those local roads that you're marking out there, do they then address all the agricultural accesses to that side of 52?
Yep.
Because we kind of took care of most of it with the frontage roads on the south side, or west side, whatever you want to call it. But we haven't on that other side.
Correct, yeah, so that was the intent with this, was to develop that continuous connection, but knowing that there is some challenges out on the corridor with the grades and the river that's there. So looking, at a minimum, this maybe shows the minimum connectivity to get, if they're closed access, where does the traffic, without landlocking properties of, how do you get them to some connection point? I think we heard a lot through the public process that, there is desire by the property owners for additional connectivity, especially having that southbound project go through and it cut off some of the access, and so there is desire for that. So I think as future study goes on, there's probably potential to continue to evaluate that. And I will note that these lines are just high-level marker on the map, and as this project moves forward into the NEPA phase, additional study and discussions with property owners will need to occur to understand where the connection, is it, does it go around the property, or, the exact alignment of those connections needs to be further developed.
Then just kind of a further question. Mm-hmm. At the public meeting in Zumbrota, of course, we heard, why did you cut off 50? Put a bridge over at 50, and which is very expensive way, and a lot of maintenance to have a bridge there. You probably can't answer it, but is there possible state help funding to take 400th over and connect 50 across? Or is that totally a county project? To alleviate that constant, we can't get across at 50, give us another avenue across, while taking 400th up to County Road 8 and getting to the interchange at 57 and there is the option.
So you're talking the north, east,
Yep,
west, that, on the north side?
Yep, where it says 50 and it's a dotted going across. Where instead of going south, it goes straight east and connects up. It's only a mile and 3/4. Is there any funding that comes from the state to do that? I would understand that some of the frontage road stuff along 52, there probably is more chance of getting some funding to do that. That other backage road, is there any, have you seen any funding that's gone to something like that?
I haven't personally, no. I guess I wouldn't want to say there's absolutely no way. I mean, certainly there's probably always a way through some funding means, but just off the top of my head, I would say unlikely because of the way it's organized, or the ownership of it, jurisdiction. So But I would agree more than likely, there would be opportunity for state participation in frontage roads and those kind of connectivities, you know, and just to note what Molly's saying as well is that, you know, the lines that are on the map, you know, they look like a frontage road. Some of that could be, so that would be the place where I would think there'd be opportunity. If the frontage road wasn't there and it moved to a backage road, I've seen that done in projects before. So I think it's probably more of a conjunction, or more of a situation where it's like not both, but either or. And that there's an opportunity, if we remove that frontage road and the cost of that, and we did something different, there could be an opportunity for something there.
And I understand that. I just had to ask
Yeah,
questions.
no, it's a good question. And the part of that, like Molly said, is these are just, you know, really stick-figured lines on a map that are drawn.
Yeah.
They're not meant to be design quality. They're just ideas that say these accesses could be eliminated, get that agricultural traffic off of 52. We're providing field accesses and residential accesses to every location along the highway off of 52. So that's really the goal. That's part of that access management, that mobility piece, to get that conflicting traffic off of 52.
We probably should have talked more about 400th
Yeah.
in the southbound project. So will you get a northbound project started so we can talk about it?
Tom will note that, yeah.
Yeah. Make a note to that.
So my understanding is that the east-west connection on 50 or 400 is a county jurisdiction yet, or is it their discussion, or at least we have identified it as, I wasn't quite sure where that's at in the process, but what I was going to note is that there are some, you know, like MnDOT's got a program for a local road improvement program that potentially could have funding for an upgrade of that road. Yep, it's all tied to bonding dollars, correct, yes. So that's one program that I know can be helpful, potentially, or utilizing some of that sources. But I also wanted to note, as part of the public meeting that we had on the early part of May, there was a lot of discussion about EMS and making sure EMS travel times and connectivity is good in the area. And so that's another consideration for, you know, maybe another selling point to get external funding to create some of these connections is noting, you know, the important pieces of the connectivity that this local network would provide for EMS services and then even just school access and connectivity with school districts.
Thank you.
All right, so as part of our PEL process, we also did an evaluation of the local concept, the local road concept. We only had one. It was a no build against the local road concept, so it fared well and everything from the primary need perspective, with the exception of just that connectivity or travel time. So there was, just given that currently there is great access that creates a lot more direct connection with this local road connection. It would be closing access and creating potentially longer travel times, but they are safer travel routes, and that was the trade-off here. So while there likely will be slightly longer travel times for vehicles when compared to the existing situation, there's better trade-offs for safer crossings of 52 and access on and off 52.
We are down just to a couple minutes.
Oh.
Just to let you know.
Yep, sure. I think I've just got a few more here. So with the local road concept, we developed an implementation plan, knowing that this was likely could potentially move forward faster than the interchange. So wanting to identify smaller projects that could potentially be broken off if funding were to be realized sooner than the full interchange funding would be. So this just kind of identifies that there's a number of different projects there that could be implemented in various timeframes, just to give kind of a ballpark number to work towards to secure funding. And then finally, just next steps here. So as I mentioned, our study's wrapping up here in June. A PEL study typically has a shelf life of about 3 to 5 years. Not saying that is a total throwaway after that 5 year, but more or less there'll be some updating of data that would likely need to occur should that be needed after that window. So our next step is really to identify funding to advance the project into the NEPA phase, where a more in-depth analysis will occur, and then one preferred alternative will be selected. So if you recall, we're moving forward 3 concepts at this point. The NEPA phase will identify the one preferred for the corridor. And then from there, then it would go into design and construction. And our study is wrapping up here in June. So with that, I will just note that we have our final PEL study document on the project website, which is linked up there for public review through the first part of June. And then from there, then we'll be wrapping things up at the end of June. And if you need to contact us, Tom's contact's up there, and then we're happy to respond to any questions if there are any.
Anyone have questions for Molly or for Tom?
Yeah, well, just in the full 8-mile study corridor. Yep. 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 Mm-hmm. Yep.
Anything else? Thank you very much. We appreciate it. So.
Thank you very much.